the wedding that exposed everything. A story of love, betrayal, and perfect timing. She planned the perfect wedding with her loving fiancé and devoted sister by her side. But when she hired a private investigator, she discovered her sister was stealing her fiancé, her vendors, and her money. So she turned her wedding day into the most epic public revenge in history, with 200 guests and cameras rolling. Welcome back to Consequences & Co., where betrayal always finds its reckoning and karma never misses its target. I'm your host, and today we're diving into one of the most shocking wedding stories you'll ever hear. This is about Emma Rodriguez, a woman who thought she'd found her fairy tale ending, until she discovered that some people will steal anything, including your entire life. What happens when you find out your perfect wedding was built on lies, theft, and the ultimate betrayal by the people you trusted most? Grab your tissues and buckle up, because this story of revenge served at the altar will leave you speechless. If you're here for stories where justice prevails and cheaters get exactly what they deserve, hit that like button now, and let's dive into this incredible tale. Chapter 1. The perfect life that wasn't hers. Emma Rodriguez had always been the responsible one. While her younger sister Sophia partied through college, Emma worked 2 jobs to pay for her business degree. While Sophia traveled Europe on their parents' dime, Emma built her marketing consultancy from nothing, working 16-hour days in her cramped apartment. At 28, Emma's life finally seemed to be falling into place. Her business was thriving. She just moved into her dream apartment, and she was planning her wedding to Michael Harrison, a successful architect who'd swept her off her feet 2 years earlier. Michael was everything Emma had dreamed of: handsome, ambitious, and seemingly devoted to building a life together. He'd proposed with her grandmother's ring, promising to love and cherish her forever. The wedding was set for June, a beautiful garden ceremony at the historic Riverside Manor, with 200 guests celebrating their love. Emma threw herself into wedding planning with her characteristic perfectionism. She researched vendors for months, negotiated contracts, and carefully managed every detail within their budget. The flowers, the photographer, the band, everything had to be perfect for their special day. Her maid of honor was supposed to be her best friend since childhood, but Jessica had moved across the country for work. So Emma asked Sophia to step in, despite their complicated relationship. Sophia had always been the golden child, beautiful, charming, and effortlessly popular. Their parents doted on her while taking Emma's achievements for granted. "Of course I'll be your maid of honor," Sophia had gushed, hugging Emma tight. "This is going to be the most amazing wedding ever. I promise I'll help with everything." And Sophia did help, more than Emma realized. She attended vendor meetings, helped with dress fittings, and even offered to handle some of the final coordination. Emma was touched by her sister's enthusiasm and grateful for the support during such a stressful time. What Emma didn't know was that Sophia had been planning her own wedding, to Emma's fiancé. Chapter 2. The unraveling begins. The first crack in Emma's perfect world came 3 weeks before the wedding. She'd been working late at her office when her phone rang, an unknown number with a local area code. "Is this Emma Rodriguez?" The voice was hesitant, nervous. "Yes, this is Emma. How can I help you?" "My name is Ashley Martinez. I think I need to tell you something about your fiancé." Emma's stomach clenched. "What do you mean?" "I've been seeing Michael for 8 months. I had no idea he was engaged until I saw the wedding announcement in the paper today. I'm so sorry. I thought you should know." The phone slipped from Emma's hand, clattering onto her desk. 8 months. Ashley had been with Michael for 8 months, which meant he'd been cheating almost since their engagement began. That night, Emma confronted Michael. He denied everything at first, then broke down and confessed. But his version was different from Ashley's. According to Michael, it had been a mistake, a moment of weakness that happened only once. "It didn't mean anything," he pleaded, tears in his eyes. "I love you, Emma, only you. I'll never see her again. Please don't let one mistake destroy our future." Emma's world was spinning. The wedding was 3 weeks away. Invitations had been sent, deposits paid, family traveling from out of state. Part of her wanted to call everything off, but Michael seemed genuinely remorseful, and she loved him, or thought she did. "I need time to think," she told him. But time was the one thing she didn't have. The next morning brought another revelation that would shatter her world completely. Chapter 3: The Sisters' Betrayal. Emma decided to confide in Sophia. Despite their complicated history, Sophia was still her sister, and Emma needed someone to talk to. She called and asked Sophia to meet her for lunch, somewhere private where they could talk. "I don't know what to do," Emma said, pushing her salad around her plate. "Michael cheated 3 weeks before our wedding." Sophia's reaction was strange. Instead of shock or outrage, she seemed nervous. Her eyes darted around the restaurant and she fidgeted with her napkin. "Are you sure?" Sophia asked carefully. "I mean, maybe it's just wedding jitters. Some people make things up to cause drama." "I spoke to the woman, Sophia. She had details, specific things only someone who'd been with him would know." That's when Emma noticed it. Sophia was wearing a necklace Emma had never seen before, a delicate gold chain with a small diamond pendant. It looked expensive, and Emma knew Sophia's financial situation. Their parents had cut her off months ago after another shopping spree maxed out her credit cards. "That's a beautiful necklace," Emma said. "Where did you get it?" Sophia's hand flew to her throat. "Oh, I bought it for myself, a little treat." But something in her sister's voice didn't ring true. Emma had always been good at reading people. It's what made her successful in business, and every instinct was screaming that Sophia was lying. That afternoon, Emma did something she'd never done before. She followed her sister. Sophia had mentioned meeting friends for coffee, but instead of heading to a cafe, she drove to Michael's apartment. Emma parked across the street and watched in disbelief as Sophia used a key to let herself in. A key to her fiancé's apartment. The pieces began falling into place with sickening clarity. Sophia's sudden enthusiasm about the wedding, her insistence on helping with vendors, her nervousness at lunch, and now, a key to Michael's place. Emma sat in her car for 2 hours until she saw them together, Michael and Sophia, kissing passionately on his balcony like they'd done it 1,000 times before. Sophia was wearing one of Michael's shirts and nothing else. The affair wasn't with Ashley Martinez. The affair was with Emma's own sister. Chapter 4: The Investigation. If you're as shocked as I was when I first heard this story, smash that like button and let me know in the comments. Have you ever discovered a betrayal this devastating? And make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to take a turn that will blow your mind. Emma didn't confront them immediately. Instead, she did what she did best. She investigated. Years of running a business had taught her the value of gathering facts before making decisions, and this situation required careful planning. She hired a private investigator, Marcus Thompson, who specialized in infidelity cases. Within a week, Marcus had uncovered a web of lies that went back over a year. Michael and Sophia had been having an affair for 14 months, not 8 like Ashley had claimed. Ashley Martinez was a fictitious person, a voice actor Sophia had hired to call Emma with a fake confession. The plan was to make Emma think Michael had cheated once with a stranger, throw their relationship into chaos, and position Sophia as the supportive sister helping Emma through the crisis. But that wasn't the worst part. Marcus discovered that Sophia had been systematically stealing Emma's wedding plans. Every vendor Emma had researched and booked, Sophia had contacted separately, using a fake name and claiming there had been a mix-up with the original booking. She'd convinced them to switch the contracts to her name and Michael's, paying with money Michael provided. The flowers, the photographer, the band, even the venue, everything was being stolen for Sophia and Michael's secret wedding, scheduled for the day after Emma's ceremony was supposed to take place. "They plan to let you go through with your wedding," Marcus explained, showing Emma the evidence. "Then they were going to have their own ceremony the next day at the same location with all your vendors. Your guests would still be in town, so they'd have a ready-made wedding party." Emma stared at the photos and documents spread across Marcus's desk. Contracts with Sophia's signature, hotel reservations for their honeymoon, even a marriage license application dated 2 weeks earlier. Her sister hadn't just stolen her fiancé, she'd stolen her entire wedding. But Emma was about to turn the tables in a way that would become legendary in their hometown. Chapter 5. The Plan for Perfect Justice. Emma spent the next 2 weeks in a state of cold, calculated fury. She continued wedding preparations as if nothing had happened, confirming details with vendors who thought they were working for someone else. She smiled and nodded when Sophia offered to help with last-minute arrangements. She even thanked Michael for being so supportive during her stress. But behind the scenes, Emma was orchestrating the most spectacular wedding day revenge in history. First, she contacted every vendor Sophia had stolen. Armed with Marcus's evidence, she proved that the original contracts were fraudulent. Most vendors were horrified to learn they'd been deceived and immediately agreed to honor their original agreements with Emma. For the vendors who'd already been paid by Michael and refused to switch back, Emma had a different plan. She booked new vendors, better ones, and made sure word would get back to Sophia about the upgrades. Next, Emma rewrote her guest list. She invited everyone, including people Sophia and Michael wouldn't want to see. Old college friends who knew about Sophia's history of stealing boyfriends. Business associates of Michael's who valued integrity. And most importantly, both sets of parents who had no idea what their children had been planning. But Emma's masterstroke was the invitations she sent for the day after her wedding, Sophia and Michael's planned ceremony date. Except these invitations weren't for a wedding. They were for an infidelity expose party featuring special presentations about trust, betrayal, and consequences. Emma also made one more call to a local news station that had featured her business in a segment about young entrepreneurs. The producer was fascinated by the story and agreed to have a camera crew on standby. 3 days before the wedding, Emma received a text from Sophia. "Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle, sis. You're going to be the most beautiful bride ever." Read. Emma smiled as she typed back. "Thanks, Sophia. I can't wait either. It's going to be unforgettable." She had no idea how right she was. Chapter 6. The Wedding Day Reckoning. June 15th dawned bright and beautiful, perfect weather for the wedding of the year. Riverside Manor looked spectacular, with Emma's carefully chosen flowers creating a romantic garden atmosphere. Guests began arriving early, buzzing with excitement for what everyone expected to be a fairy tale ceremony. Emma had never looked more radiant. Her dress was a stunning creation she'd designed herself, elegant, sophisticated, and befitting the successful businesswoman she'd become. She'd spent the morning getting ready with her real maid of honor, Jessica, who'd flown in specifically for this day. Sophia arrived in what she clearly thought was a subdued dress, but Emma recognized it immediately. It was the same designer gown Sophia had ordered for her own secret wedding the next day. Sophia kept checking her phone, probably coordinating last-minute details with Michael for their ceremony. Michael looked nervous as he stood at the altar, adjusting his tie repeatedly. He probably thought Emma had forgiven him and moved past the Ashley Martinez incident. He had no idea that his bride knew everything. As the processional music began, Emma's father took her arm. "You look beautiful, Mija," he whispered. "I'm so proud of the woman you've become." "Thanks, Papa. Today is going to change everything." Emma walked down the aisle with perfect composure, her bouquet steady in her hands. She saw Sophia dabbing at fake tears in the front row. She saw Michael's relieved smile as she approached. She saw 200 guests who thought they were witnessing a love story. But when Emma reached the altar, she didn't take Michael's hands. Instead, she turned to face the gathered crowd. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice carrying clearly across the silent venue. "Before we begin this ceremony, I have something important to share." Michael's face went pale. "Emma, what are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth, Michael, something you seem to struggle with." Emma reached into her bouquet and pulled out a small microphone. The wedding was being recorded. After all, she gestured to the back of the venue, where Marcus Thompson stepped forward with a projector. Ladies and gentlemen, I've discovered that the man standing beside me has been having an affair for over a year. But not with a stranger, with my maid of honor, my sister Sophia. The gasp that went up from the crowd was audible. Sophia shot to her feet, her face crimson. "Emma, don't," she started. "Don't what? Don't tell everyone how you've been planning your own wedding to my fiancé. How you stole my vendors, my plans, my entire ceremony to use for yourselves tomorrow." The projector screen lit up with photos Marcus had taken, Michael and Sophia together, contracts with forged signatures, hotel reservations for their honeymoon. The evidence was undeniable and devastating. Chapter 7, The Explosive Revelation. Drop a comment if you're here for this level of wedding day justice. And hit subscribe because we're about to reveal the most shocking twist of this entire story. But Emma wasn't finished. She had saved the most devastating revelation for last. "The affair would have been bad enough," she continued, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. "But stealing my wedding was just the beginning. Sophia, would you like to tell everyone about the money?" Sophia had gone white as a sheet. "Emma, please stop." "No, then I will." Emma nodded to Marcus, who clicked to the next slide. Bank statements appeared on the screen, transfers from Emma's business account to various vendors, all authorized by someone with access to Emma's financial information. "My sister has been embezzling money from my business for 8 months, Emma announced. "Over $60,000 used to fund her affair and pay for what was supposed to be our wedding. Money stolen from client accounts that I've been desperately trying to replace without anyone finding out." The crowd was in complete uproar now. Emma's parents were staring at Sophia in horror. Michael's family looked like they wanted to disappear. Business associates were pulling out their phones, some likely calling lawyers. But Emma had one final bombshell. "And Michael, since you're here at the altar, would you like to explain to everyone why you really proposed to me? Show them the email you sent to my competitor, offering to sell him my client list and business strategies. The proposal was just to keep me distracted while you and Sophia destroyed my company and stole my life." The final slide showed email correspondence between Michael and Emma's biggest business rival, detailed plans to sabotage her company from the inside while keeping her focused on wedding planning. Michael tried to run, actually tried to flee down the aisle like a criminal caught red-handed. But Emma's cousins, 3 large men who worked in construction, blocked his path. "Sit down, Michael," Emma's father said, his voice carrying the authority of a man who'd built his own business from nothing and recognized treachery when he saw it. "You're going to listen to what my daughter has to say." Sophia was sobbing now, mascara streaming down her face. "Emma, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far." "You're sorry you got caught," Emma replied coolly. "Just like you were sorry when you stole my boyfriend in high school, and when you used my credit card for that shopping spree in college, and when you borrowed money from me last year that you never intended to repay." Emma turned back to the crowd, many of whom were recording the entire spectacle on their phones. "I called you all here today not to witness a wedding, but to witness justice. For too long, I've covered for people who took advantage of my trust. I've made excuses for betrayal and absorbed the consequences of other people's selfishness. But that ends today." Chapter 8, The Consequences Unfold. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Within hours, the video of Emma's wedding day expose had gone viral on social media. Wedding justice and sister betrayal were trending topics as people shared the story around the world. But the real consequences were just beginning. Emma's lawyer, armed with Marcus's evidence, filed criminal charges against Sophia for embezzlement and fraud. The stolen money wasn't just from Emma's personal savings, it was from client trust accounts, making it a felony with serious federal implications. Michael faced his own legal troubles. The emails about corporate espionage opened him up to both criminal prosecution and civil lawsuits from Emma's business. His architecture firm fired him immediately to avoid association with the scandal, and other firms refused to hire him once the story broke. Sophia's theft of the vendor contracts constituted fraud in multiple categories. Each forged signature was a separate count. By the time prosecutors finished building their case, she was facing over 20 felony charges. But perhaps the most devastating consequence was social. In their close-knit community, the Harrison and Rodriguez families were well known. Sophia and Michael's betrayal didn't just destroy their own reputations, it humiliated their parents, who'd been proudly telling friends about the upcoming wedding. Emma's parents were devastated but stood firmly behind their daughter. "We raised Sophia better than this," her mother said through tears. "But Emma deserves our support, not our excuses." Michael's parents tried to minimize the situation initially, calling it a misunderstanding between young people. But as evidence mounted and legal consequences accumulated, even they couldn't deny the deliberate cruelty of their son's actions. The stolen vendors found themselves in an impossible position. Some had already been paid by Michael and Sophia, but were contractually obligated to Emma. The legal battles would take months to resolve, but most chose to honor their original agreements with Emma rather than be associated with fraud. Chapter 9. Rebuilding and Rising. 6 months after the wedding that never happened, Emma's life looked completely different and infinitely better. The criminal cases against Sophia and Michael were proceeding slowly through the court system, but the evidence was overwhelming. Sophia had already accepted a plea bargain that included 5 years in prison and full restitution to Emma's business. Michael was fighting the charges, but facing similar consequences plus additional civil lawsuits. Emma's business, initially damaged by the embezzlement, had actually grown stronger. The publicity from her wedding day revelation brought in new clients who admired her courage and integrity. She'd also received consulting offers from companies wanting to improve their internal security against employee theft. More importantly, Emma had learned valuable lessons about trust, boundaries, and self-respect. She'd spent years making excuses for Sophia's behavior and absorbing the consequences of other people's choices. But standing up for herself publicly had been transformative. "I used to think family loyalty meant protecting people from the consequences of their actions," she told a reporter who interviewed her for a story about workplace fraud. "Now I understand that real loyalty means holding people accountable so they can become better." The interview went viral too, with Emma becoming an unexpected spokesperson for victims of financial abuse and family betrayal. She started a support group for people who'd been victimized by relatives, and her story inspired others to come forward with their own experiences. But the most satisfying change was personal. Emma had started dating again, carefully, with better boundaries and clearer expectations. She'd also reconnected with old friends who'd witnessed Sophia's pattern of behavior over the years but hadn't known how to address it. "You were always too good to her," her college roommate told Emma over lunch. "We all saw it, but you made so many excuses that we stopped trying to point it out." Emma realized that her wedding day revelation hadn't just exposed Sophia and Michael. It had freed her from a lifetime of enabling destructive behavior. Chapter 10. The Final Justice. Before we wrap up this incredible story of betrayal and justice, make sure you're subscribed to Consequences and Co. for more tales of people who thought they could get away with anything, until they couldn't. Hit that notification bell. 1 year after the wedding that shocked the internet, Emma received an unexpected visitor at her office. Sophia, accompanied by her lawyer, had been released on bail pending sentencing and wanted to speak with Emma privately. "I know you have no reason to listen to me," Sophia began, looking haggard and genuinely remorseful. "But I needed to say this in person, not through lawyers or court documents." Emma studied her sister carefully. Gone was the entitled princess who'd stolen her fiancé and her wedding. Prison had stripped away Sophia's arrogance, leaving behind someone who looked genuinely broken by the consequences of her choices. "I destroyed everything," Sophia continued, tears flowing freely. "My relationship with you, with our parents, with everyone who ever trusted me. And for what? A man who threw me under the bus the second things got difficult." Indeed, Michael had tried to blame everything on Sophia once the legal consequences became clear. He'd claimed she'd seduced him, stolen the money without his knowledge, and manipulated him into the corporate espionage scheme. The emails and evidence proved otherwise, but his attempts to destroy Sophia to save himself had shocked everyone. "I spent my whole life thinking I deserved everything I wanted just because I wanted it," Sophia said. "I never learned that actions have consequences because you always protected me from them, but I'm not asking for protection anymore. I'm asking for forgiveness." Emma considered her sister's words carefully. The anger that had sustained her through months of legal battles had faded, replaced by something more complex, sadness for the relationship they'd never had and the person Sophia could have been. "I forgive you," Emma said finally. "Not because you deserve it, but because carrying hatred hurts me more than it hurts you. But forgiveness doesn't mean trust, and it doesn't mean relationship. You'll have to rebuild those things through your actions over time." Sophia nodded, understanding the distinction. "I know, and I know it might take years if it's even possible, but I had to start somewhere." After Sophia left, Emma reflected on how much had changed. The wedding day that was supposed to be the happiest of her life had instead become the day she finally stood up for herself. The betrayal that was meant to destroy her had actually set her free. 2 weeks later, Emma received word that Sophia had been sentenced to 4 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution. Michael received 6 years and faced additional civil judgments that would likely bankrupt him. The corporate espionage charges alone carried consequences that would follow him for decades. But Emma had stopped following their cases closely. She was too busy building the life she actually wanted, one based on genuine relationships, honest communication, and the hard-won knowledge that she deserved better than settling for people who would steal from her while pretending to love her. Epilogue: the wedding that finally happened. 2 years and 3 months after the wedding that exposed everything, Emma walked down a different aisle in a different dress to marry a different man entirely. Dr. James Chen, no relation to the previous story's family, was a pediatric surgeon she'd met at a charity fundraiser for her foundation. He was kind, honest, and had been thoroughly vetted by both Emma's friends and her private investigator. She wasn't taking any chances this time. The wedding was small and intimate, with only 50 guests who genuinely loved and supported Emma. There were no dramatic revelations, no stolen vendors, and no family members plotting betrayal. Just 2 people who'd found each other after learning hard lessons about trust and commitment. Emma's parents walked her down the aisle together, both beaming with pride at the woman their daughter had become. Her real friends surrounded her with love and laughter. Even Marcus Thompson attended, joking that he hoped this would be the most boring wedding he'd ever witnessed. It was. And it was perfect. As Emma and James exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising honesty, communication, and mutual respect, Emma felt something she'd never experienced at her first almost wedding. Absolute certainty that she was making the right choice with the right person. The reception was a celebration of genuine love and authentic relationships. No one was performing for social media or impressing business contacts. Everyone was simply happy to witness Emma's well-deserved happiness after everything she'd endured. During her toast, Emma's father said, "My daughter taught our family that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their choices. Sophia is learning that lesson in prison, but Emma learned an even more important one. She deserves to be loved by people who would never betray that love." As the evening wound down, Emma and James snuck away from the reception to have a quiet moment together. Looking at her new husband, Emma felt overwhelming gratitude, not just for finding love again, but for having the strength to demand the love she deserved. The wedding that exposed everything had ended in heartbreak and betrayal. But it had also led to this moment, a woman who knew her worth celebrating with people who recognized it too. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you opens the door to the best thing that could happen to you. Emma's story proved that betrayal, while painful, can be a gift. It shows you who people really are and frees you to find people worthy of your trust. And sometimes, the most satisfying revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a life so fulfilling that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. Emma Rodriguez-Chen had learned the ultimate lesson. You can't control how others treat you, but you can control how much access they have to your life. And the people who prove they don't deserve that access get exactly what they've earned: nothing. Thank you for watching Consequences & Co. This story of wedding day justice and ultimate redemption shows us that sometimes the worst betrayals lead to the best transformations. If Emma's story inspired you to demand better from the people in your life, smash that like button and let me know in the comments what lesson hit you hardest. Subscribe for more incredible stories where karma always finds its target and justice always prevails. Remember, every choice has consequences, and every betrayal eventually finds its reckoning. Subscribe now for more stories where the good guys win and the cheaters get exactly what they deserve.